This is a story that happened to me a few years ago, and it still haunts me to this day. I wasn't going to share it. I didn't want to sound crazy, but maybe someone out there is going through something similar, and maybe this will help them feel less alone. Because what happened in that apartment never really left me. The first night I moved in, I noticed something strange. Not loud, not dramatic, just off. The walls in the bedroom creaked like any old place, but there was a rhythm to it, a slow, steady rhythm, like someone walking back and forth just on the other side. I told myself it was the plumbing, or maybe old pipes adjusting to the weather. But it only happened when I turned the lights off, and it always stopped the second I looked around. That was the first night. On the second night, I woke up with the bathroom light on. I don't remember turning it on. On the third night, I found writing on the mirror, faint, almost like it had been written in steam, except I hadn't used the shower. That was when I started recording everything. I moved in on a Thursday afternoon. It was raining. The apartment was on the second floor, Unit 2B. It was small, a little dusty, and completely empty, which I liked. No leftover furniture, no weird smells, no signs of the last tenant. The landlord gave me the keys in a white envelope. No tour, no paperwork on site, just handed them over and said, "You're all set." Rent was cheap, too cheap probably. I didn't ask a lot of questions. I needed a place fast. Work had transferred me out here on short notice, and I didn't want to waste time looking. The street was quiet, almost too quiet. No traffic, no kids playing outside, just rows of similar buildings all painted the same dull gray. The kind of place where people keep to themselves, where windows stay shut, even on warm days. The first night, I noticed the hallway light outside my door flickered a little. I figured it was just a loose bulb. The walls were thin. I could hear the tenant below me coughing at night, and someone upstairs liked pacing around, but nothing that bothered me. I was fine being alone. No roommates, no noise, no distractions. I even liked that there was no Wi-Fi signal in the bedroom. It felt like a clean break. A reset. I set a routine quickly. Wake up at 6, go to work, come home by 7, eat something quick, sleep by 11, and repeat. I didn't go out much, didn't meet any of the neighbors. There was one guy I passed in the stairwell a few times, mid-40s, always in the same jacket, but we never spoke. I liked the silence, or I thought I did. There was a faint smell in the bathroom, sharp, chemical, like bleach but not quite. I thought maybe they'd cleaned it before I moved in. It was stronger near the mirror, but I didn't think anything of it, not then. By the fourth day, I started noticing small things I could explain if I really wanted to. Like my keys, I always dropped them on the kitchen counter when I got home, every single day. But one morning, they were on the floor, under the table. I figured maybe I knocked them off while reaching for something. I didn't think about it again. Then the front door. On the sixth day, I found it slightly open when I woke up, just an inch. Not enough to look suspicious, but I was sure I'd locked it the night before. I checked the bolt. No sign of damage, no scratches. Still, I blamed myself. I was tired. Maybe I forgot to twist the deadbolt all the way. Maybe it didn't click shut. That week, I started locking the door twice. Once when I got in, once before I slept, just to be sure. On the 8th night, I started hearing scratching. It was faint, coming from the corner of the bedroom wall, where the closet met the drywall. It didn't sound like rats or plumbing. It sounded too steady, like fingernails. One night I stood there in the dark, listening to it for almost 20 minutes. As soon as I flicked the lights on, silence. On the 9th night, something else happened. I had fallen asleep watching TV in the living room. Around 2:45 a.m., I woke up to a blue glow. The TV had turned itself on. The screen was on HDMI 2, volume 0. Just a black screen with white text in the top corner. No signal. I checked the remote. The batteries were dead. I unplugged the TV and went back to bed. At this point, I told myself the apartment was old. Wiring can be weird in these places. Maybe there was a power surge. I tried not to overthink it. But the mirror, that was different. It started fogging up strangely, like the condensation would form too fast, even before the water was fully hot. I didn't question it, just wiped it with a towel and went on with my day. But then one morning, after a quick shower, I stepped out to dry off, and there was a handprint. Not mine. Higher than mine. Wider, too. I stared at it for maybe 30 seconds. Then I wiped it away. Didn't tell anyone. I just pretended I didn't see it. On the 11th day, I found a note, slid under the front door. No handwriting, just printed words. It said, "Stop using the mirror." That's all. No name, no explanation. I assumed it was a prank. Maybe someone heard me talking to myself. Maybe a neighbor thought it'd be funny. I tore it up and threw it away. I didn't stop using the mirror. On day 12, I hadn't even taken a shower. I walked into the bathroom and the mirror was fogged. No heat, no water, no reason. And in the middle, words. Barely visible, like they were written from the inside. They said, "Why did you come back?" That was the first time I felt watched, like the apartment was aware of me, like something in it remembered me. That night, I stayed up late, scrolling my phone until I couldn't keep my eyes open. When I finally turned off the lights, the scratching came back, but this time, there was knocking too. 3 knocks, then silence. Then again 3 knocks. I checked the hallway, nothing. The next night, same thing, 3:13 a.m., exactly, like clockwork, like a reminder. I stopped sleeping in the bedroom after that, moved everything to the couch, left the lights on all night. I started keeping my shoes by the door, just in case I needed to leave fast. I don't know what I was expecting, but I knew whatever was happening in that apartment was just getting started. By the 13th night, I couldn't pretend anymore. I needed proof. I picked up a used security camera from a pawn shop down the street. It wasn't fancy, just one of those cheap infrared models that recorded to a USB stick. I set it up in the bathroom, pointed it straight at the mirror, pressed record, and I left the lights off. The next morning, I plugged the footage into my laptop. For the first 3 hours, nothing. Just grainy silence. And then, at exactly 3:13 a.m., the mirror started to fog. Slowly, like breath. But I wasn't in the room. I was on the couch, asleep. The camera kept rolling, and I watched, frame by frame, as letters began to appear. Not smudged, not drawn. They formed, like condensation responding to something invisible pressing against the glass. 3 words. You were here first. I paused the footage, rewound, watched it again. Same result. I sat there, staring at the screen, hearing the ticking of the wall clock behind me. Something about those words felt wrong. Not threatening, not even angry, just disappointed. Like it had been waiting for me to realize. That afternoon, I searched the apartment's address online. I didn't expect anything, but then I found a name. Tyler Henson, 27 years old, went missing in 1997. Last known address, Unit 2B. No signs of forced entry, no struggle, just vanished. The police report said his personal belongings were untouched. Only one strange detail. The bathroom mirror had writing on it when investigators arrived. Words were unreadable, smudged, like they'd been wiped halfway. No one could determine what they said. I dug deeper, found a Reddit thread posted 3 years ago. The title was vague. Weird stuff in an old apartment, help? The poster didn't give the address, but everything lined up. Same layout, same second floor window, same mirror. They wrote about fog forming without steam, about doors opening on their own, and about a knock that came exactly at 3:13 a.m. I created a throwaway account and messaged them. I just asked, "Did you live in Unit 2B?" It took an hour before they replied. No greeting, no explanation, just one sentence. "Don't sleep in the bedroom, ever." 10 minutes later, the account was deleted. That night, I stood outside the bathroom door for almost an hour. I kept the lights on. I covered the mirror with a towel, but I could still feel it. The pressure, like something was pressing outward from behind the glass. Not trying to escape, trying to get my attention. That night, I slept on the couch again. I didn't bother turning the lights off. I kept my phone on the coffee table, camera app open, just in case. I remembered checking the time once before falling asleep. It was 2:56 a.m. I woke up to a sound I hadn't heard before. Something dragging across the floor. Long, heavy, like furniture being pulled, slowly, from one end of the apartment to the other. But when I opened my eyes, nothing was out of place. Everything looked the same, except the hallway felt tighter, like the walls had shifted an inch closer. I picked up my phone and started recording. I didn't say anything. I just walked. The sound had stopped, but I could still feel it in my chest. I turned toward the bathroom, slowly, and in the mirror, there was someone standing there, completely still. Not reflected, not duplicated, just present inside the mirror. I stepped forward. Nothing in the room, but the figure never moved. It didn't vanish when I walked in. It didn't react to the light. It just stood there, like it was watching me from the other side. That was the moment I knew. It wasn't a haunting. It wasn't a malfunction. It was aware. I covered the mirror with a bedsheet, taped the corners down. I went to sleep that night without brushing my teeth. Didn't even look toward the hallway. In the morning, the sheet was on the floor, folded, placed neatly on the edge of the sink. I tried contacting the landlord, texted, called, left voicemails. Nothing. I even drove by the office building listed on the lease. It was empty, locked up. No forwarding address. No one had been there for months. That night, the knocking didn't come. Instead, I heard something worse. I heard my own voice, whispering from inside the wall. Just below the vent near the bed. It said, "You shouldn't have come back." Not loud, not angry, just certain. I didn't go back inside that night. I slept in my car. The rain started around midnight. I kept the engine off. No music, just the sound of water hitting the roof and windshield. I felt safe. For the first time in 2 weeks, I actually slept. I came back the next morning, just to grab a few things, maybe get my laptop, some clothes, check if I'd imagined it all. But when I opened the door, everything was different. The furniture had moved. My books were on the wrong shelves. The coffee mug I left on the table was now in the sink, clean. My shoes were lined up neatly by the door, and the mirror. The mirror was uncovered. No fog this time. No handprints.
Just a number, 2 nights left. That was the first time I thought about leaving for good, about abandoning everything inside. But I didn't. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to see what would happen next. Maybe part of me already knew that I'd been here before and that I'd never really left. It was the last night. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I didn't move from the living room for hours. Just watched the clock. When it hit 2:59 a.m., I turned on the camera. I set a chair in front of the mirror. I didn't sit in it. I just pressed record and waited. At exactly 3:13 a.m., the mirror started to shake. Not violently, just enough to feel like the surface wasn't stable anymore, like water, or like it was breathing. And then, the message. Welcome home. I moved out the next morning, left everything behind. I didn't pack. I didn't wait for sunrise. I drove 5 hours, found a short-term lease in another city. I thought it was over. It wasn't. 2 weeks later, I walked into the bathroom. No lights were on. No hot water. But the mirror was fogged. In the center, something faint, like the beginning of a word. I tried smashing the mirror. Shards everywhere. Blood on my hand. But the next day, the writing came back. Different mirror, different wall, same message. It doesn't want me to leave. It doesn't want to hurt me. It wants me to remember.